Hey everybody, Johnny here coming to you from my office at Jennersville. Hey, this past weekend we talked about the loving each other part of our mission statement. And I just wanted to tell you a little story about how important that has been in my life growing up. So I grew up in a church, United Methodist Church. My parents actually still attend that church. It's a church my mom grew up in. Her dad, my grandfather, started the youth ministries there, played in the music ministry, started all the mission trips. My grandmother was a part of Bible studies and grief groups and all these different things over the years. And one of the things that I really loved about my church was that they knew how to love me well and just love people well. I didn't necessarily get all the deepest theology or Sunday school lessons in Bible class. Not that they were bad, but it wasn't the thing that kept drawing me back. I was a young child, but I knew that when I went into that room on a Sunday morning into the sanctuary, there were several adults, several people who knew me and who were excited to see me and asked me how I was doing and asked me, how soccer was going or how my relationship was going in high school. All these different things. They would ask me about school. They would check in with our family and see how everything was going. And they just loved me well. And one of the things that I noticed is that when I went away to college, I wanted to find a church, but it wasn't because I was craving this Bible teaching. That eventually came in my life. But what I craved was this community. I craved this idea of someone loving me as they love themselves, loving their neighbor as themselves, loving each other. And so that's what drew me back to church. And eventually what I ended up discovering and really understanding later on down the road was, man, these people who loved me, they loved Jesus. And there's probably something to that. And so I kept following Christ. And here I am now, standing with you guys and have been with a pastor really for all of my professional career. This has been a part of who I was created to be, and I discovered that because I was welcomed and loved to be a part of a church. Marika closed with a quote yesterday, a tweet. I used it in person. I ended up not using it online just because things changed over the few days in between when we record sometimes. But the summary of the quote is something like this: a teenager who looks over a congregation and said, "These are my people. I belong here," are most likely going to be a person who looks over or who looks at God and says, "You are my God. I belong in your presence." And so that's what I experienced, that I would look at my church and say, "These are my people. I belong here." I was eventually able to put that together and say, "This is my God. I belong in his presence because these people welcomed me into their presence." And so I just pray that would be us as a church. I pray if that's not your experience, that it would be, as we continue to figure out what it looks like for us to love each other at Willowdale Chapel.